Welcome back, everyone, to the Flyin podcast. We are here tonight with, unfortunately, not a great week for FC Cincinnati based on this past result against Charlotte. But nonetheless, we're going to recap this game, maybe what went wrong in a couple key moments for FC Cincinnati. We got Zach and Sam tonight, and Maya is joining us as well in the background, Zach's dog.
Hey Maya, she's going to join us this evening.
She's got some hot takes, I bet.
Oh yeah, it'll at least make the mood a little bit better after this past weekend.
Yeah, great point. Like we mentioned, we played Charlotte this past Saturday. Unfortunately, it was a 1-3 loss for FC Cincinnati, which makes our record now 15-3-5. We'll kind of roll into the lineups here, guys. The build-up for this game, I was just still buzzing, honestly, from the past week with the Inter Miami game. But we get an interesting lineup. Sam, what did you see?
Yeah, I think with the lineup, I think off the bat, we were all kind of surprised with the lineup that they went with. I know if you listen to the episode last week, Ryan and I really broke down why we thought Pat should have gone back to the same old, instead of this new formation he went with against Miami. But he decides to run it back because, I mean, fair enough. He wins 6-1 against Miami, so there's got to be something there. But we had talked last week about how great Charlotte's defense is, and obviously it didn't work out too well.
That's a really good point, and I wonder if Charlotte going into the match, were they preparing to face the 6-1 FC Cincinnati, or is it the Cincinnati of old, right? It was definitely an interesting kind of chess play there, but honestly, overall lineup, I honestly I would have rather seen Dado and Kubo to have more of a dueling 10 situation there up top. I think with Buka, I feel like before we've seen Buka and Kubo together and they weren't like totally gelling, but with this back line that it's really all new back line for Kubo. He's never really had to work probably as hard as he had to. So that was an interesting play there.
Yeah, I mean, I think the last game, honestly, that we see Buka and Kubo together was the FC Dallas game. And in that game, actually, Kubo didn't do half bad. I thought he was pretty serviceable, if I remember correctly. But to your point, so you would have wanted Dado in there, maybe a little bit forward, but who do we have as a sixth then? Is my question. Do you slide somebody else back in that spot? I feel like we need to have some stability there, some stopgap. So in this game, OB's out on card accumulation, and we have a big hole in the midfield as we found out. So as the guys were mentioning, the lineup and everything that we had mentioned before, just with the similar formation, but Celentano, you have Assad, Murphy, Robinson, Powell, Yedlin, Buka, Kubo, Acosta, Orishano, and Kelsey. We get Kelsey back up top. I just thought it was interesting, as Sam had mentioned in the last episode, with a stout defense that Charlotte had, like I felt like we had to be going back to the old formation, in my opinion. And in this game, in the first, half, we'll talk about it. We didn't really see much sustained possession by the forwards, and that actually came back to kind of bite us in the butt. But Sam, before the game, we did see some interesting hair choices. Do you think that had anything to do with what went on in the game?
I can promise you they're not going back to pink. I think it was Assad, Luca, and Lucho all had pink hair. Assad with the bulk of it, man, went all pink. So I don't think they're gonna go back to that. I I hope it's not they don't trust that barber anymore, because a lot of people are very, sacred about who they have cut their hair. So hopefully they don't count that barber as superstitious. Hopefully he keeps a job. But yeah, we did have some interesting hair.
Can't forget Santos's purple hair, but you couldn't tell from the stadium where we were sitting.
True.
Yeah, good call. I forgot about the purple hair as well. Guys, one thing I wanted to just point out, with Yuya Kubo being in this match, it was his 140th appearance, which actually makes him the most all-time capped player in FC Cincinnati history. He's the only player to play in every competition we've been in. This is excluding the USL days, of course, but Kubo's just been, so consistent, has just been able to play in all these different games and just been serviceable. Didn't look fantastic, if I want to call it, in this game, unfortunately, but this is a one-off game. We're going to give him the benefit of the doubt on that. He's been just outstanding this year. Sam, as we get into the start of this game, I want to hear your impressions on the first half, especially.
Yeah. I mean, beginning of the game, I don't know if you guys noticed or not. I know we talked about it. Charlotte was tall. They had a lot of tall, random guys in the midfield, in the back line, up top. Like it was random. You would see Lucho next to looked like a 7-footer from where we were, sitting. Um, Pretty crazy. That was my first impression of like, holy crap, this team's pretty tall. But as far as the gameplay goes, this right off the bat was a very physical game. Our defense made some key tackles within the first 15, 20 minutes that kind of kept it still competitive, but Charlotte was coming after us and they were coming after us pretty hard.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I was gonna say that was the immediate thing I think all three of us noticed was how tall they were and how miserable we are gonna be on set pieces. Um, but besides the point, I mean, I think Charlotte, in my opinion, dominated the entire first half. I mean, all the way up until that first goal of ours. I mean, you know, both goals coming right out the top of the box, and not having Obi, you could really tell that we were definitely missing him there. I mean, if you think about it, that was like previous or earlier in the season, we had the situation where nobody was stepping up to the shooters right at the top of the box, and both of those goals came from a player either passing through, or actually they're both passes through um, over the top, and then one through the back line, and nobody was there to step up and um, take charge.
Yeah, I mean, great point with that. I didn't even really think about that. That was our downfall early on in the year, especially when the ball was played out wide and then that ball was brought back in. We didn't have those defenders or midfielders even to get back and to track those guys. But you're right. Unfortunately, we do get scored on, in the first, I think it was the 20th minute. We still haven't been scored on within 15 minutes to start the game this whole season, which is just a random stat that I've kind of found from previous games. But still 20th minute, like, yeah, you get this ball that's played over the top, which really Charlotte had been playing so direct like the entire game. In Westwood, whether you want to call it that he knew the guy that was there or was he just playing it in the box randomly, he finds their guy on the back post, and Powell kind of loses his mark. You get a volley that Celentano tries to get anything on the front post. At first, I honestly thought that it went through his legs. I don't know if you guys thought that as well.
Yeah, from where we were sitting, not much of a vantage point there, since it was on the other side next to the Bailey. But yeah, after seeing this goal replay, Powell loses a guy, like you said, and I mean it's kind of on both of them equally. I would say Celentano doesn't really cover his near post as well as you would like. But yeah, it just goes off, ricochets off of his stomach, chest, arm, and goes in.
Yeah, that's a tough angle or for any goalkeeper. I mean, that could go up, that could go down. You don't know how that ball is going to come off the foot. Tough save. He got a little piece of it though. It looked like it hit his like upper body. But truthfully, I think it, like I said, it came down to defending at the top of the box. Um, just rough goal to see so early.
Yeah, and honestly, like, I wouldn't say it like caught me off guard, but like I definitely just all of a sudden it was like they scored, and you're like, oh crap, and honestly it had been building, but 2 minutes later, they get another goal. And if you look at what happens in this play, it's off a throw in. Buka mishandles the ball, it turns over, they break and they split between Robinson and Murphy, and it's another goal just like that, and it's 2-0 just out of nowhere, which number one gave me kind of shades of Nashville game earlier in the year. You go down 2-0 in the first half pretty quick. But secondly, in the DC game, they actually had a goal that came off of a throw-in, and they weave through Murphy on that side again. So, I mean, now we're starting to get a very similar type of play where they score, and you just want to see some reaction, just some life, because like Sam, you had mentioned earlier on, I mean, they just dominated the physical battle, the second balls. We just didn't look like we wanted the game as much as they did, and credit to them for that, especially in the first half. Pat says this is probably our worst half we had in the entire season.
Yeah, it definitely was a tough half to watch. Like you said, just Charlotte continued to be dangerous in our own half. Really kept the ball in our half, and it was just relentless. Wish we would have gotten a little bit more chances on our half. Obviously, we were sitting on that side right in the first half, so we want to see more of that. But yeah, it was tough.
Yeah, I mean, I likewise. I mean, I think going into that second goal, I think really it all came down to Buka. Buka, the ball, he lost it at his feet. Um, I think he got double teamed, and they just took it and ran with it. Unfortunately, like you said, Murphy was on not on goal side, right? So it seems like lately we've been caught off guard and not having our fundamentals down. So that was a big flaw from I saw on Murphy on that one.
Yeah, I mean, and like you said, is like plays that could be prevented. If he settles it one touch, plays it back, and they play it forward. I think like obviously the play is on Buka, and I don't want to put all the blame on him, but if you don't have an outlet to play to, then you're always going to be under pressure. And in the first half, that was the issue. And you had Kelsey up there, but wasn't as involved in things, didn't really have, that connection like we saw in the past game with Kubo playing up top, connected with Lucho, Assad, Luca. We didn't really have that, in that first part of the game. So that 10 dueling system, that we saw that worked so well maybe wasn't as great in this scenario. As we go to the middle part of the game, though, the last 10 minutes of the half picked up. I think, on the shoulders of your captain, you get a little bit more effort, you get a little bit more belief, in the team. And that leads to the 45th minute where Assad plays Lucho a ball. Lucho finds himself in a position where he has to kind of change his body to curl around, this shot. And I thought that was so impressive for him just to be able to kind of set himself up to be able to shoot that, which I think ultimately leads the keeper to be not expecting that shot and to curl it around him.
Yeah, I mean, Lucho's goal, world class once again. Pinpoint accuracy to be able to just snipe it into the right corner there. Obviously didn't celebrate the goal, still visibly very pissed. But it was nice going into half, at least feeling like things are going to be turning around, especially because right before half there, you almost could have felt that we could have gotten, a goal or two, and we got one. So it was almost like, okay, coming out of half should be pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, with that Lucho goal, it really gave I think all four of us, Kevin being there, a bit of a bright spot, going into that second half. You really could feel the momentum, building up. I think it was like 7 minutes of extra time, I believe. So
Mhm.
it was really, that whole 7 minutes. I felt like there on. I think we pretty much dominated the game. So it really felt you could really feel the momentum coming out of that Lucho goal for sure.
Yeah, well, and absolutely. I mean, it just creates belief, like I mentioned. And you had kind of seen a lifeless team, and then you score and you're down one goal, and you have all of this belief that you're going to score. And like Sam said, building into the half, and on the flip side, you're thinking, okay, we're ready. We're going to come back and get some chances. We're going to have an opportunity, at least in this game, to salvage some points. At halftime, though, guys, we see Kelsey and Powell come out for Dotto and Santos. So, at first, my initial thought was, why would we get rid of such a physical forward, especially if we're not able to hold the ball up in certain ways? Maybe add another guy to play aside him, and that way we can kind of build up and possess the ball honestly better. But now that I kind of go back and review it, it's like he needed to just get something flipped. We needed to have some new energy, new ideas going. And that's what you kind of saw with Dado, and Santos in some ways too, maybe not consistently, but you did see some ideas from him. But Sam, what did you see in this middle part?
Yeah, so I mean, right out of the half, like you said, with the switch of Dotto and Santos coming in, right out of the gate, we had the attack going and we had it in their half, which was awesome. And that led to a PK off a handball. Clear and obvious. Dude was sticking his hand out. I know there was a little bit of controversy because it may have been, it could have gone both ways, but just from an FCC supporter perspective, that was clear, obvious, was a penalty all the way. That's obviously the perspective that we're taking here as the Flying Lion podcast. But yeah, I thought it was a great chance right out of half, and it was like, okay, thank God we're getting saved.
Yeah, and like credit to Dado for creating it. You get that instant sub and he's going into the box and shoots it, make something happen out of it. Who knows if it was going to be on or off of goal, I guess, we'll never know, but it does hit the guy's arm. And like you said, it's a PK.
Ball don't lie. PK's a PK.
But then you have all of this belief. Like Lucho doesn't miss these, right? And you both are sitting next to me and you go, he's going right. So if you both knew that,
We jinxed it so hard.
then the keeper for sure definitely knew where he was going. I see the England goalkeeper, has the players' names written on his water bottle, which the side, that they prefer for their PKs. So I wonder if the Charlotte guy had been tipped off on, what side Lucho likes to go to. Right in front of the Bailey, though, too, is the heartbreaker for me. It could have been, 2-2 and changed the whole thing. Zach, I think you had mentioned that. That really was just like a deflating moment in some ways. I mean, would you agree with that?
Oh, 100%. I mean, especially going into half with that energy that Lucho had. And then, he's a very emotional player. And seeing him miss that, or he himself feeling that miss, you could tell his energy kind of started draining. And he started to try to do more. I think you've noticed that a little bit. But yeah, I mean, in the end, it kind of deflated a little bit. But as we see a little bit more, I mean, that second half was truly, I mean, all things considered, a very well fought second half from the orange and blue.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely happy about the way they came out though, and the response. And maybe some things don't go our way, and we'll get into that. But yeah, I mean, absolutely, you couldn't ask more than based on having a terrible half, coming out and actually showing like you belong in the game. Guys, Lucho, I don't think had missed or had a PK saved in over 25, I think PKs or close to 20 is what I remember. Maybe beginning of last year or even the end of 2022 was like the last time that I can remember. I don't know if you guys agree with that or not, but
Yeah, I mean, it sucked because honestly, the PK looked relatively predictable. You go back, you watch it. I know Lucho with his PKs, he's very methodical about it. He doesn't put too much energy into it. It's not like he blasts it by anybody. But I feel like he's been able to pinpoint penalties a lot better. And this was, it just looked very obvious to me.
yeah, and I was
That's a good point. I was going to say, it
yeah.
was very slow. Like his run up seemed off. Like he never usually runs the way he ran up the way he did. I don't know. We're looking into it really deep, but I mean, let's be honest. It you can see it a mile away.
Yeah, unfortunately, and he makes the save, and I'm thinking at the moment, that was our chance, that was our time to tie it up. But just 3 minutes later, we get another prime opportunity that in the moment you just think, man, Orshano cuts in on his left, rips a shot. This time more of a near post than the far post that he had in Dallas, but the keeper froze on it. Now, I don't know if he just didn't see the ball or if he was thinking, hey, I saw an offside earlier on in the buildup, which some people had suggested. But I think in that moment, you still have to play it out. and the keeper just gets frozen. Nice shot by Orishano, but it gets called on an offside in a VAR situation, which I just needed more clarity in the stadium about, or some video or something to show me.
Yeah, there wasn't much video to be shown there. I know I had like caught it off the just the like corner of my eye. I know Zach and I had said that there was a little bit of hesitation there. Obviously we're on the other end of it, so we can't really see the line or why there was a hesitation, but I know the weird ruling was that it looked like there was a deflection from the pass from Santos, so that's why it was a little confusing why they called it offside because it took a deflection. But all in all, it's a it's a call that Guido loves to make, I guess, right?
He loves
And
the.
it's offside, yeah.
Honestly, looking back at the replay, I think if Lucho had touched the ball instead of was it Assad,
Mm-hmm.
I think the goal would have stood because I think Lucho was on sides, but Assad was the one who came back on the ball. So very unfortunate because that was a world class goal. But man, that would have felt good to that was still pretty early in the half too.
It's like so far back in the buildup of the play. I think at what point does the buildup kind of like, when do you stop counting it as the buildup to the goal? Because the goal comes from the opposite side. If it doesn't happen directly around when the goal happens, at what point do we say, hey, it's been 5 passes since? It wasn't like the play that he had to Assad was the key part of them scoring. We get it to him, you play it back, you switch it over to the other side of the field, you get Orishano on the ball. I mean, it had been 20 seconds, since. And that's why I think credit to you for seeing that, Sam. I totally blanked in the buildup on that.
Yeah, I know back to back chances though. Huge blow to FC Cincinnati's confidence. Having two chances like that and just having them taken from you. Just awful, awful feeling.
Right off a
Yeah. And what were you saying, Zach?
right off a platter.
Yeah. And I mean, nothing really happens for the next 15 minutes roughly until the 65th minute where the corner woes strike again. Again, one of these days I'm going to get the number on how many, but it is I think it's probably 10 or more now that we've given up off of set pieces / corners. Guys, we were sitting right there by the corner. That ball was not on the line. Go back and look. I mean, I don't know if you can see it on the TV broadcast. There's other people that confirm this with us as well. This guy does not put the ball on the corner, which the ref that's standing there should be able to see that it is not on the line.
Yeah, I don't think it didn't, from our vantage point, look like the ref really made any attempt to hover over the ball to see if it was. He had kind of just a diagonal angle from it. Shadow of the ball probably shows that it's on the line, but it wasn't. So unfortunate there. Nice to see that some other people in the stadium saw it as well.
Damn, Ashley Westwood. Um, Ryan, it's funny because you got pretty much our entire section shouting at the ref.
Yeah, the kids behind us. Yeah.
Kids saw it. They got good eyes.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
exactly.
mean, I don't know how, again, the guy's standing right there. And it ends up being a goal. Is it a situation where you can go back and review that? Obviously from our coaching staff standpoint, they're on the other side of the field. They're not seeing it. Their subs are, warming up right there. They're not going to say anything. But all of the fans in that corner are like, hey, this ball is not on the line. That is against the rules. It's like having a bad throw in that leads to a goal. It's a violation of whatever rule that is. But I don't know. They end up scoring. And again, that's just poor defending
I
on the
will I will
corners. But
say I will say on that near post, Buka's got to do better.
yeah,
He has got to do better on that. If you go back and look at that, it was, oh my gosh.
it ends up being, I think it was Assad that loses the battle for
Yeah.
the
Yeah, yeah.
header. But yeah, on the front post though, he gets like knocked
He
over.
puts one leg up and it
Right.
deflects in and he's like, ah, dang it. And then just takes the ball back to, half. It's like, okay.
Yeah. Which at that point, 3-1, you're like, man, you feel terrible because again, we've had so many chances. You have one taken away, one that's saved, and you're like, man, it's 3-1, but at the same time, we've had some fantastic opportunities. So again, I just go back to look at those, and you can't dwell on them, as a team. You have to have your captain say, we have to keep pushing. And, credit to them. End of the game, we pushed. And you see more subs come in, more attacking pieces. And you get, Robinson that gets a red card late on, which questionable. If you go back and look in the slow-mo, does he get to the ball first? Does he, trip over the leg of the guy and then momentum takes the guy out? But, now Miles is out for the rest of the game. He's out for next game, and not until after Olympics is when he's back. So it was just a tough situation on top of everything that had happened.
Yeah, we were pressing very high, and the back line just got caught way in front of the halfway line there. The more you look at it, I mean, it looks like Miles had a chance to get the ball with his left foot. However, it looked like the Charlotte attacking player just like in stride moved his right leg just in time, and Miles caught his right leg and didn't really get much of the ball there.
Yeah, I think this is another sign of, lack of fundamentals, in my opinion. I think Miles needs to go straight back. He took it, at an angle and around, and that got the Charlotte player, on the inside and goal side. So I think there was a little bit of, like you said, Ryan, I think he was just caught off guard. Damn, sorry, dang fly. He caught off guard, and I think he could have done a lot better, and as a result, he got that red card. And I do agree. I think it was a little rough, but still, I think he wouldn't have been in that situation had he handled that a little bit better.
Well, and the handling of the way that he runs, but also if you go back and look when that ball's cleared, there's a guy behind him, and Miles is looking back like, I thought Miles or Murphy, was behind me. So he kind of hesitates, and then he's having to, track the guy down, frankly. But I also think if you go back and look at it, I think he thinks that Celentano is actually coming out on that one. And I don't know if you can kind of say, hey, Roman, in that situation, you can see this better than me. You have to come and shout and say, hey, can you come clear this ball for me? I don't know. There's some shout to that. Be interesting to see how that would turn out. But, past that, we get a overturned goal, another VAR situation, again off of a free kick. So even if it is an offside thing, it's still, another goal by them that comes off of this situation. So it's got to be better. I mean, we've been asking for it for a long time. But towards the end of the game, we have a Kubo and Halsey shot that comes off the post. It's not like, again, we didn't have opportunities. We end up with, I think Sam had mentioned, 21 shots to their 13, which, ours in this game, I guess, tied for the second most of the MLS regular season when we had 21 shots on May 29th and June 22nd. So I think in those games, we end up winning those competitions. And this one, again, so many chances and only come out with one goal. In this game, you had Yamil Assad that had an assist now to Lucho, but that makes 3 straight matches for him with an assist. I felt like he did pretty decent in some ways, but just got gassed at the end of the game. I don't think he was used to playing as many minutes as they had asked him to lately, which, again, credit to him for just filling in, honestly. Guys, any final thoughts that you can say from the Charlotte game? I think I had one more thing I wanted to mention, but Sam?
No, I mean, final impressions for this was it was just bad. Just bad like vibes, bad game overall. Which it's not a bad thing. It happens, but it's how you come out of these, especially when, we'll talk about it later. We got 2 games this week. So, not a lot of time to sit and sulk and or at least to identify what the problem is. Let's pick it up. Let's hopefully go back to our bread and butter formation and really get back and get these 3 points.
Yeah, final thoughts for me. I would say, played much stronger in that second half than Charlotte. So that was a very bright spot, and I think we were the better team, but without the finishing, of course. So I think, defense could have had certainly been more steadfast. They were lousy early game, but
Mhm.
they stepped up a bit more in the second half. But overall, I mean, tough fought game, but we lost. So unfortunate.
Yeah, I mean, you just leave with a bad taste in your mouth. Like I think somebody had mentioned, like sometimes you just got to get whooped on to kind of get you back in shape. We come off this big win, 6-1, and then you get a reality check of MLS could be game to game, and how you play and how you come out in 20 minutes is going to change the entire rest of the game. So you got to be able to keep your focus. I think Pat's done a really good job in bounce back games, like Sam mentioned. So hopefully we can come back and we can get some points, and we'll chat about that in the second part. But Sam, let's hear your trivia question of the week.
Yeah, so trivia question of the week is similar to what I talked about at the beginning of the podcast. Thought we'd do something fun to brighten up the episode. Um, but gentlemen, I have a question for you, and that would be, what was the average height of the Charlotte FC squad versus FC Cincinnati? Ryan, we'll go first with you.
I'm gonna say 5'11". I just feel like they had so many guys that were 6 foot and up. And I would be really interested to see what our average height was in comparison to that.
Zach?
Yeah, that's a good guess. I was actually gonna go higher. I'm gonna go 6'1".
Okay, 6'1", 5'11". You'll get the answer on the other side.
Hey, FC Cincinnati fans, we are pumped to share our new sponsor, Peak Cocktails.
I'm sipping on the passion fruit margarita, which is so spicy and it makes me feel like I'm on the beach.
Ooh, that sounds great. I'm drinking the blood orange spritz, which has a great subtle ginger flavor coming from its scientifically formulated recipe to promote exercise recovery, enhance relaxation, and support a better night's sleep.
Ryan, that's exactly why I love them. Their cocktails are designed to fit seamlessly into your health conscious lifestyle, giving you the enjoyment of a delicious adult drink without the downsides of alcohol.
Guys, next time you are looking for that post-workout drink or an afternoon pick-me-up, grab a Peak Cocktail. Visit them at www.peakcocktails.com and use the code FLYINLION at checkout to get 20% off your first order. Zach, enjoy your drink. Welcome back, everyone. We unfortunately are here tonight chatting about an FC Cincinnati loss, but we're gonna put that aside now. We're done talking about that one. You look at the clip one time, you learn from it, and you move on. Um, in this week, though, I mean, there was a lot of good things that happened, a lot of funny things that happened. Um, guys, I'm kind of curious to see where you went with your cards this week. Sam, what about you?
Yeah, my car of the week, I mean, just straight up bland, missed opportunities. Our expected goals was 2.7 over Charlotte's 1.5. Earlier we had said 21 shots, hit the bar twice, a missed PK, VAR offside. Just bad luck to have at home, and we continue to have bad luck at home this season, which is really unfortunate. Current home record is 6-2-4, and last year was 13-2-2. So big difference at home. And I really hope that this second half of the season, as we get into Leagues Cup, All-Star games, stuff like that, we really try and solidify our home games, because if we stay at the top of the table, we'll have that home field advantage. So if we can solidify that, that'd be great.
Yeah, I mean, you would have thought from last year, look at how many games we won and how many little we lost. Like, this is a fortress, and we sell out every game. We show up, we're loud. I mean, it's intimidating for teams, but are we kind of missing the edge of things now? I mean, we have to come in with a chip on our shoulder and say, we're playing at home. We have this advantage. Let's go out and let's feed off this energy. What's changed from last year? We had all of this going. Probably the defense. I mean, let's just blame it on the center backs being out. But yeah, I think you're right, though, in some ways, Sam. There has been a lot of unlucky moments, but the sample size is large enough to say we're losing too many at home at this point.
I think that's just a sign that we're going to get hot in the end of the season. and go for an MLS Cup run. I think that's what you're trying to say, right, Sam?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
We're gonna spin this on the head and call this a jersey swap, right?
That's
No,
right.
but no, that's a good point. Those are good stats on the home versus last year and this year compared to now. I think that's very telling, and it kind of shows, showing our back line and where it is right now versus last year. So yeah, I agree.
Zach, where did you go with your card of the week?
I'm gonna go back to the game. Sorry, guys. I know you said, Ryan, it was the last time we are gonna talk about it, but I just something just irks me about Ashley Westwood in that match. I think that was the game of his career because I don't think he had played as good in any of his matches when he was at Burnley or Aston Villa. Like, for some reason, he played out of his mind, in my opinion, and that was very frustrating to watch. Um, the dude was all over Lucho. He was chirping, and he was that miasga for us from last year, but in this match, I think he really kind of got in our heads a bit. Um, and I think with the corner kick situation, um, he had 3 assists against us. So, I mean that was I think a rated fairly high, over 9, 9.5, I think is what he was rated at. So, as I think a 6, I think he's a defensive mid. So it was frustrating to see him, you know, him being so small on such a tall team. It was frustrating to see.
Yeah, good point. I mean, unfortunately, the guy had a good game, if you want to say. First one he plays, like I said, might have gotten lucky with where he was playing it. I don't know if it was directed towards that guy. Second one, the guy that scores actually does more. So is that really an assist there? Third one, he has the ball over the line. So does he do that great if you go back and look at it? I don't know. But you see one photo of him actually repairing the turf on the field too, guys. I don't know if you guys saw that too. So Westwood actually had his 4th assist on the night with the repair of the turf. But yeah, I mean, honestly, he gets a yellow card at the 43rd minute, I think it was, like early on in the game. And it really makes me think, like, if our midfield was half of what it was, in the first half, would it be a different result? Would they have shut Westwood down if we had Obi in there, and a more physical presence? I don't think you see him playing the way that he did, honestly.
Yeah, completely agree on that. He diced us up. He did, and it was interesting. Like you had said, Zach, you really hadn't seen a game like that in his career for him, and I think what the stat was this week that it was the first Charlotte player ever to have 3 assists in a game or something like that. So kudos to him. Good game. Don't do it again.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm gonna go. So my card of the week and my jersey swap are outside of this game. So just a note to you guys. But card of the week was the Copa America fans. Unfortunately, if can't blame all the fans, but if we look at what happens, Argentina against Colombia, unfortunately, Uruguay against Colombia too. A lot of fights going on in the stands. A lot of people entering illegally without tickets. These tickets are already a stupid amount of money, couple $1,000s, and they had to shut down the stadium. So the people that actually paid couldn't even get into the stadium. The families of the players were stuck outside and weren't able to even get in. It's not a good outlook for 2026 in the World Cup. And is it the US's fault? I mean, honestly, it's probably CONMEBOL's for putting on the tournament, but we have to be prepared for these big events, especially in Miami. They had hosted a Super Bowl there. You would think that they would learn from that a big event on how to manage these situations, but it was just unfortunate. It delayed the start of the game. I've never, seen this, at least in TQL or around any FC Cincinnati games. The closest I want to say is probably the US Mexico game, but even then, there's a lot of chirping going on, but nothing that was, outside of that. And credit to the Cincinnati security for kind of getting that right, especially guys last year for Gold Cup when we hosted the game. for the search that they did on every person to make sure that they didn't have horns, that they didn't bring in weapons, stuff like that. Where in this one, I had heard that they just started to let people in and they didn't even check them, to see if what they were bringing in, which is just terrible. It's dangerous and it's scary, honestly.
Yeah, I think the infamous video that we were all seeing this weekend was the video of the escalator just absolutely destroyed. And then the video of people climbing through the air vents and air ducts to get into the stadium. That was wild. It reminded me, I don't know if you guys remember, but Euros 2020
Mm,
in England, right? They came out with a documentary about it on Netflix, and
right.
it gave me similar vibes of, Italy versus England. England's in the final, and it's in England. So people were ecstatic, wanted to get in, trying to force their ways in, and it made it dangerous not only for English fans but also for Italians. So it was kind of the same way. Um, Interesting that you see Colombian fans have the type of night that they had versus Uruguay, right? And that was very combative. And then right after that, you have Colombia against Argentina. Like it's nonstop. But I'm wondering if it would have been. I know obviously stadiums in the US are just not, obviously after this tournament, we're just not ready. We're not ready for the World Cup with the pitches, with the way the stadiums are. Um, I'm almost wondering if this would have been at a stadium like a Kansas City, right? That's like in the middle of nowhere, and you have to drive to get to the stadium. Is there going to be that much disruption outside the gates? Whereas you're in Miami, anything goes, anything could happen. Downtown's right there, so I'm very curious to see what that'll be like come World Cup.
Honestly, I think FIFA needs to do something. They need to step in, some way, shape, or form. I don't know if it's fining the U.S. or something. I don't know what you could even do, but I think all things considered, it was an extremely dangerous situation. I think you saw kids even in the crowds, like some of them. I mean, it was what 100 degrees too, or I might be exaggerating a little bit, but not really. It was extremely hot, no water out there, like security was severely understaffed. I mean, I think that's been noted, throughout multiple games, like quarterfinals all the way through the finals. So, yeah, I think there needs to be a hard review of this Copa tournament for
Yeah,
preparation for the World Cup.
absolutely. I mean, it plays into, hopefully not in the scenarios, for playoffs in the MLS or, we don't get anything crazy like that. I don't think, at least when people have gone to Messi's games, for Miami, other places, it hasn't had anything crazy like this either. But it'd be interesting to see. On the flip side, Sam, I want to hear your jersey swap of the week.
Yeah, my jersey swap of the week. We're gonna go back to our Flying Line podcast favorite, Alvis Powell. I thought he played pretty well. Yes, he was responsible for one goal, but he made crucial stops, and he was the MVP. If it weren't for Lucho scoring the goal, he would have been that star of the first half because he only played 45 minutes, which may have been due to injury, maybe not. I know we had saw him roll his ankle on one of the plays before the half, so up in the air about that. But led the team with 5 tackles and only played 45 minutes. Like that's pretty darn good. And then like I said, crucial chase down moments, and then he even had one or two take ons, which for Alvis we love to see that. It's scary, but we love to see it.
You always love to see that. Seeing him dribble the ball just makes you giddy, doesn't it? And honestly, like his recoveries were fantastic. I mean, they were like some,
Clean.
yeah,
Yeah.
very clean and just picking pockets left and right.
I think he was named like top two in the MLS on like speed as well. I don't know how they like measured that, but I think you see that in his recoveries in this game, which is pretty cool. Zach, I'm going to go to you next. Who did you have for your jersey swap?
Yeah, I went ahead with Yamil Assad. Like you said, I mean, 3 assists in the straight games. I think like really with those top three, well, I guess besides more of a wing back, but when Oriana was back on the wing back as well, the Argentinian trio is so fun to watch. They're starting to gel really well between the three of them, so it's really good to see that play style and the finally, like as we say, mid to end of season, they're finally getting their things right. But I think he's been exceeding expectations in my opinion. I him after we signed him, I didn't really know what to expect from him. But all the way up to now that he's getting starting minutes and seeing full 90, I'm so happy that we have him on our team.
Definitely happy that, yeah, again, that we have him. Besides, assist to Lucho in that connection, has a header off of a corner, I think like 69th minute or something, that the keeper makes a really good save on. So could have had a goal in this game as well. He had scored a goal, I think, against who was it, a couple games ago in the game that we had lost, New England. It was the New England game. So very similar situation. But Emil's filled in nice. And again, I hope that he changes that hair because I'm a little superstitious.
Yeah, I know we had mentioned throughout the game, he's a great player. He fights hard, but he's not a right back. He's not an outside back, and you can tell that he had him on the right, he had him on the left at times, and to Ryan's point, this guy cannot touch his left foot at all. Can't curl it in with his left. He can't do anything with his left. So when he passed it to Lucho on the left side, it was with his right foot. Um, he fights hard. I mean, that's all you could say
Is
about
it a
him.
jersey
But
swap or a card? I'm confused.
no, like I said, he fights hard and he's a good player. He just needs to change his hair for the next game. My goodness.
All love, we're messing around, obviously, but yeah, he's filled in nicely, guys. My jersey swap of the week is, again, not a player that was on the field for this game against Charlotte. Stephan Chirila, for the second time this year, I'm going to call him out for being my jersey swap of the week. The guy had 1 goal and 1 assist in the last game against Toronto 2. He had the game-winning goal actually as well. Was named to the Next Pro All-Star game, which will be coming up next Tuesday. So go and check that out next week. On the year, guys, 5 goals, 3 assists in 10 games for FCC 2. I'm very excited about this prospect, and next year with him joining the full team, it'll be exciting. The guy just seems to find ways to score and is a winner.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what kind of role he'll play going forward for us because how can he not? He's a goal scoring threat. He's a contribution threat. He gets it done for FCC2 all the time. And it's seamless.
I'm going to be the bad guy here. I haven't watched a single FCC2 match yet this season. Shame on me.
Go watch him, man.
I don't know how I haven't. I mean, with this Chirilla, I mean, he's a stud and one of our star, academy players. I think, like you said, Sam, like what's his role going to be in the next year? I mean, I think he'll probably start seeing a lot of minutes, in my opinion. But I think he's got a bright future for sure.
Yeah, I mean, all you hear is just good things, and he's already training, with the first team in some weeks as well, so he's starting to get that experience, but has just made like so many leaps. Think about him playing U17s. Now he's FCC2 and doing well. I mean, that to me shows me that he's able to sustain that level. Hopefully at, even a professional level. Obviously, he's doing it with FCC2, but in the MLS setting as well. And that's the next step. But as I mentioned, FCC2 did win against Toronto's second team. We had Ben Stitz with the first goal off of that Chirilla assist. And now this puts them in second in the East. They're 3 points behind Philadelphia. They have a points per game of 2.06, which, guys, is only 0.03 off of FCC's first team, which is 2.09. So kind of amazing that both teams are hovering right about the same amount of points per game. They've had a great year. Looking forward to the second half of the season for them as well.
Yeah, I think they've just been competing. They've been fighting really hard. academy products are showing out. And I know we'll touch on it here, but my goodness, this team is very impressive.
Are you guys going to go and watch the team? They have a game at TQL in October. I think that would be a really cool one to go and watch and support. For those who, again, didn't know about that, I think check your emails today. I got an email about it, but it would be nice to go and support them. Would be also awesome if you could go to see the next pro game and support Chirila, kind of see some of the new rising stars in the MLS as well. The All-Star game's coming up next week. Lucho was actually just named to the Skills Challenge. I think for second year in a row, I want to say. Maybe even third. I forget if he did it in Minnesota as well. For the actual All-Star game, though, for the Liga MX team, Brandon Vasquez was not selected. This just had come out, I believe, today. Brandon, I had to go back and look at this. This past season had 6 goals in 19 games for Monterrey. In the Liga MX for CONCACAF Champions Cup, he had 4 goals in 8 matches. So he had 10 goals, in those 27 games, which is pretty solid. Didn't get the selection though.
He kind of stopped scoring after we stopped talking about him.
It's true.
Very, very interesting. After he plays FC, he just stops scoring.
He's a natural. That's why.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully he finds his footing. Again, he doesn't play for us now. Would have been cool to see him play, in the All-Star game, but that's all right. Guys, we do have, like Sam mentioned earlier on, 2 games, though, this coming week. On Wednesday, we play Chicago at home, match day number 27 in the MLS. We did have a 2-1 win in Chicago earlier this season. They sit at second last in the East right now, and have not been on a fantastic run of form. They might be offloading Shaqiri as well, one of their DP players that hasn't done well in Chicago, but somehow always finds a way to do well for the Switzerland national team and had a nice goal in the Euros. But interested to see how this one at home goes, especially without Robinson too.
Yeah, it was a 2-1 win in Chicago earlier this season. Right now, Chicago's sitting second to last in the East. Not too hot. I'm very curious to see once again. I mean, he has to go, right? He has to go back to the formation. There's no way he lines up Luca with Acosta and then puts Kelsey or Kubo or somebody up top. There's no way. I'm very interested to see if we can bounce back at home. That's the big thing for me. Put your stamp back on your home and declare TQL, this is our ground. We don't mess with this. I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah, I mean, I think all signs are pointing to a win this Wednesday, in my opinion. I'm thinking it's going to be I think we're just going to go back and forth 3-1. We lost 3-1. We're going to win 3-1. I think, with this interesting lineup that we might be missing Lucho. We don't know how his injuries, lining up, but, I think we might see some youth probably, playing a little bit, with Kip in the back. Or is it, because Powell came out early? I don't know. It's going to be an interesting decision.
Yeah, and again, I don't envy Pat in this situation. Lucho had a negative X-ray, meaning like didn't have a fracture at least, but is questionable, and I don't know, do you play him in this game? Do you wait for Saturday? I really hate, having this taste in my mouth of losing at home. And then, we need a good result at home in this one, especially before you have a little bit of a break and you go into Leagues Cup. So kind of a big game, in my opinion, to bounce back and to set things straight. Do you think, Zach, you mentioned younger guys. Do we see Halsey? Do we see, some of these other guys that haven't played as much starting this one and then, having more of a normal lineup for Saturday against New York Red Bulls? Sam, what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think you see Lucho play both games. Hopefully he's healthy for the Red Bulls game, but the guy doesn't like to come out of the game. We know this. But if we're gonna call on a younger guy, I'm thinking this is a Dotto game. I'm thinking Chicago's a Dotto game. and he's able to help hopefully he's not too gimpy Lucho, and hopefully helps that front half of the lineup really get going. Maybe Kelsey has a game that we haven't seen in a while. That's really what I'm hoping for and looking for.
It's definitely going to be a player that's going to have to step up. That's for sure. And I think, like you said, Ryan, I mean, tail end of this season, it's a tough schedule that we have. After I'm looking at it right here, I mean, I know Philly's not doing well, but it's always a good game.
Hmm.
You got Orlando, New York City, LAFC, Minnesota, Columbus, Montreal, Inter Miami. Like these are all, playoff teams that you're seeing.
Yeah, you have to win now. I mean, great point. In these moments, take advantage of it at home. Doesn't matter who we have or not. Like everyone's beat up, everyone's depleted, at this point. So let's show our depth and let's get a win. Zach, I think you said 3-1. I'm gonna go with 2-1 in this game. Sam, what's your thoughts?
With the Chicago game, I'm going 2-0.
2-0. Hopefully another clean sheet. It's been inconsistent with the clean sheets this year. But as we go to match day 28, so again, Wednesday, Chicago, Saturday, at New York Red Bulls, which always seems to be a tough game. But we had kind of pulled out results there, in the past couple of seasons. Bad blood is back. I definitely think that's true. Even though Frankie Amaya does not play, for New York Red Bulls, there's still this taste of, hey, we lost at home to this team. Hopefully that puts us with a little bit of an edge going there and hopefully just taking care of business, honestly, because I don't want to go into this break with, another bad taste in my mouth. I think everyone else is in agreement with that. Would you say?
Yeah, yeah. I think especially against a Red Bulls team that's top 5 in the East right now. They are scraping by, you know, just as much as I mean we are, but they are really scraping by. They love the draws as of late. Their last 3 games have been draws, and then their last 5 games they've had 4 draws. So very tight game that they like to play. So we'll see what comes out of the away match. Obviously, for us, we're looking to get at least 1 point.
Yeah, I mean, we found a way on the road, though. It's incredible this year. Guys, we're going for 8 straight road wins, which is just insane. Like I mentioned, having, 9 road wins at this point is good for a full season. And, we're already sitting at that number, going for 8 in a row. I just think you got to put everything into it. The players are going to leave it all on the pitch, knowing that we do have a couple weeks of a break. That would be my message, if I'm Pat, is to say, I know you guys are banged up. I know you guys are tired. I know we're on the road, but we have to come out and just maybe early on, just set the tone. First 20 minutes, 2-0. I think that would just shut a lot of things down and let us to kind of play the way we want to in this game.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're lucky in that I think both Forsberg and Stroud are going to be injured for this match. So I think that 2 of their big guys are going to be missing. However, I mean, it's still going to be tough. I mean, their academy is very good, very fast paced, as we always know, high press. It's going to be interesting, with the rotation, how the players are going to be able to manage that press. It's going to be difficult. I think likewise with the DC game, you're going to see people step up that aren't Lucho, you know aren't the big names, right? So I think it's going to be a really telling week. Seeing how we come out of these 2 games, you're going to see what I think our end of year form is going to look like.
Yeah, I hope it's the sign of things to come, but maybe with different personnel, or a more full or healthy lineup. In addition to that, but yeah, if we can grind out results, that would be massive. Zach, what is your prediction for the Red Bulls game?
Oh boy, I think it's going to be a 2-2 draw.
That's exactly what I was thinking as well. Unfortunately, like I said, I think we're gonna go up 2-0, but then they're gonna sneak some back because we're just gassed at that point.
I'll go. I'll stay with the draw. I'll go 1-1. Um, I'm interested to see what happens. Also, after this game, we've got the transfer window opening up on, was it Thursday, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see if that impacts Saturday or, the following, obviously the following games, but especially with Robinson being out for the Chicago game, he may just go straight to, the Olympics and just, take some time off. But
There is a ruling on this. He is supposed to be at least around for the game if he's
okay.
suspended. So he might have to stick around to serve that suspension so it doesn't carry over to the second part, I guess, that would be Inter Miami,
That
on
feels
the
that
flip
feels a
side.
little like intense. Like, no, hey, no, you have to stay and watch your team bleed. Like you need to
Right.
sit here and watch it. Like that's intense.
I'm flabbergasted why they would do that. I mean, we just saw I know this is a little tangent, but I mean, you just saw the Chicho Arango ruling. The All-Star game counts as a freaking suspension. It's like, come on.
Which
MLS.
honestly, good point in bringing that up. Chicho is up there for the MVP running. Does this edge Lucho a little bit?
A little bit, it has to.
And Messi's out with a sprained ankle as well for a
Oh,
month or so, 6 weeks maybe. I mean, Lucho's just continuing to do his thing. We didn't even mention it, and his goal, he's got 11 now, and 17 assists, which I think is tied for most goal and assist contributions or total, number of contributions. I think he's still leading the way in the MVP race, and then this Chicho situation might, even put him way more ahead, depending on how the MLS views this situation.
Yeah, especially midway through the season, right? This is right before the All-Star game. Chicho is the highest, goal scorer in the MLS right now. It very well could impact if Lucho stays on his course. I think you could see Lucho just easing into that back-to-back MVPs again because it's similar to last season a little bit. Obviously, the season Messi had last season in the second half of the season was just ridiculous, right? And if it weren't for him coming in the half of the season, I think we could have seen something a little different. But now that he's out possibly for 6 weeks, right? Like Lucho's back to back is looking a lot better.
We found the bright spot in the episode. Here it is, right here. Then if anyone wants to just skip forward to this moment, we can say
yes. Yeah.
right. Exactly. But Sam, give me the trivia question and answer.
Yeah, we'll wrap it up here with the trivia of the week. Boys, if you remember, first half of the pod, question was, what was the average height of the Charlotte FC squad versus FC Cincinnati? Ryan, you had guessed 5'11". Zach, you had guessed 6'1". The answer was 6'1".
wow. I
The
thought,
tallest player on Charlotte's starting lineup was 6'5". The tallest player on their team is 6'7". Guys, the tallest player on FC Cincinnati squad is Matt Miazga and Alec Khan. They're both 6'4".
jeez.
That's a massive team. I mean, the eyes didn't deceive us when we first saw the team, and you're like, every single player is tall and physical.
That's quite stunning.
That is wild that 6'1" was the average height, though, for their team. I mean, so look at that, Sam. Maybe they needed this ahead of the game. And if you're Pat, you say, okay, you have to play physical. Look how tall these guys are. Go and look at, your battles and set pieces. You're going to have to win, all of these. Put Lucho on your shoulder or something. I don't know. That's crazy.
I mean,
Yeah, five looks like 5 out of the 11 guys were over 6 foot.
Do you know what our average height was?
That wasn't the trivia of the week, Ryan.
I would really be interested to see if it was like 5'8" and then 6'1" as a difference. That's very interesting. But we'll close it down here. Again, not a great week for us on the first team, but a lot of opportunities before this Leagues Cup break to really just set the tone, going into this break and to separate ourselves a little bit in the standings. As it sits now, I think we do have a 1-point lead on Inter Miami in the Supporters Shield. We're still up top, guys. We're still there. We're still on a historic pace. I think honestly, our points per game is even better than what we had last year. So we're still in a good spot, and I'm ready for 2 wins this week, maybe a win and a draw like we had predicted. But likes, comment, subscribe. We'll see you guys next week, and we'll recap hopefully a good week.